Coronation Street character Maggie experiences a major turning point as the ongoing blackmail storyline becomes even more intense. It now appears that she may finally be starting to get through to Ben and influence his thinking. Maggie Driscoll achieved an important breakthrough in Coronation Street as the pressure surrounding the blackmail situation continued to escalate dramatically. Earlier in the week, the family matriarch found herself cornered by her former daughter-in-law Melanie, who arrived with a deeply manipulative scheme in mind. Melanie first came to Weatherfield last month after shocking truths emerged concerning her son Will and his athletics coach, Megan Walsh. Since returning, Melanie has been desperately trying to take Will back to Scotland with her, although persuading her ex-husband Ben has proven to be far more difficult than she expected. Realizing that ordinary persuasion would never be enough to sway him, Melanie paid Maggie a visit in hospital earlier in the week and demanded that she convince Ben to allow Will to relocate. She also issued a chilling threat. If Maggie refused to cooperate, Melanie promised she would reveal to Ben that Maggie had been responsible for the death of his father, Alan. During tonight's episode of the ITV drama, Maggie continued recovering and rebuilding her strength following her recent stay in hospital. As she carefully made her way downstairs into the Rovers, Tim and Sally Metcalf welcomed her back with their usual playful teasing and lighthearted comments. However, Maggie's improving mood quickly disappeared the moment Melanie entered the pub. Melanie immediately called Ben over and once again threatened to expose the devastating secret, though Maggie successfully managed to buy herself more time by pushing the blackmail ultimatum back until the end of the day. Not long afterwards, Maggie finally began persuading Ben that Melanie's suggestion might actually have some benefits, explaining that a temporary move could genuinely help Will. She pointed out that it would not only create distance between Will and Megan, but would also provide the entire family with an opportunity to recover and regain some stability. I've spent some time thinking carefully about Melanie's proposal, and honestly, it may not be the worst possible outcome for us, Maggie explained. It wouldn't need to be permanent, only for a few months. It would solve two problems at once. Melanie would feel like she's helping the situation, while we would succeed in getting our boy away from Megan. Maggie then went on to explain that local gossips would eventually lose interest and focus their attention elsewhere once the controversy had died down. For the first time, Ben seemed willing to seriously think about the proposal instead of rejecting it outright. Even so, nothing has been officially decided yet because the family still faces the difficult challenge of persuading Will himself to agree to the move. Coronation Street has unveiled two more suspicious twists in the continuing mystery surrounding the death of Theo Silverton, leaving viewers even more confused about who may actually be guilty. Attention is now increasingly focusing on both Summer Spellman and Gary Windass, as their recent actions have begun attracting major suspicion from fans and investigators alike. In tonight's episode of Coronation Street, audiences witness several questionable moments involving Summer and Gary, while fellow suspect George Shuttleworth continues firmly insisting that he is completely innocent during an intense and uncomfortable police interrogation. As George repeatedly denies having any involvement in Theo's murder, suspicion slowly starts moving towards Summer and Gary instead, especially as both characters seem to be concealing important information from those around them. During Wednesday's installment, Summer is shown suffering an emotional breakdown in Victoria Gardens, while George remains at the police station undergoing further questioning in custody. Gary Windass and Maria Connor notice that Summer is visibly distressed and immediately go over to support and comfort her after recognizing how shaken and emotional she appears. Summer admits that she is extremely worried about George because he has been kept in custody overnight following his arrest, and nobody seems to know when the situation will finally be sorted out. However, once George is eventually released without charge, at least for the time being, Summer suddenly appears uncomfortable about having displayed so much emotion in public. Her unusual reaction quickly causes viewers to question whether her tears may actually be connected to feelings of guilt, possibly because she fears the police investigation should really be focusing on her. Later in the episode, Summer visits Gary at the builder's yard and quietly asks him not to mention her emotional outburst to Maria or anybody else. She explains that she does not want people becoming suspicious, concerned, or overly curious about the way she has been behaving recently. After Summer walks away and Gary promises to remain quiet, the focus immediately shifts onto his own highly suspicious behavior. Gary is then seen deleting CCTV footage that clearly captured him vandalizing Theo's van on the very same day Theo was later killed. In episodes that aired last week, viewers saw Gary deliberately target Theo's vehicle because he was determined to intimidate him into leaving Weatherfield for good. He even escalated matters further by sending Theo a threatening text message warning that he intended to come after him personally. These developments have now caused fans to seriously question Gary's real intentions. Is he merely deleting the footage because he realizes how damaging and incriminating it looks despite being innocent? Or is he actually attempting to hide direct involvement in Theo Silverton's murder? Coronation Street producers have officially confirmed that George Shuttleworth, Summer Spellman, and Gary Windus are all considered major suspects who will remain under active police investigation throughout the coming weeks of the storyline. At the same time, Todd Grimshaw, Danielle Silverton, and Christina Boyd are also being treated as possible suspects, strongly suggesting that viewers can still expect many more dramatic twists, shocking revelations, and unexpected developments before the mystery is finally solved. Coronation Street has now officially confirmed that manipulative troublemaker Jody Ramsey is both alive and unharmed, despite earlier fears that she may have been kidnapped or possibly even murdered. The character, played by Olivia Francis Brown, continues to drive a serious wedge between her sister Shona and brother-in-law David, and she seemingly appears to be enjoying every second of the disruption and emotional turmoil she is creating within the family. During tonight's episode, David spoke honestly with Shona about several disturbing events connected to Jody's troubled past, leading to a tense and emotional argument between the married couple. Completely unknown to them at the time, however, a mysterious individual was secretly watching their confrontation from nearby. Later in the episode, David contacted the police regarding a voicemail Jody had sent him the previous week, where she insisted that she had no romantic interest in him, despite what she described as his alleged attempts to pursue her. Viewers are already aware, however, that Jody intentionally manipulated David and carefully orchestrated the entire awkward situation herself. Inside the police interview room, Detective Kit Green questioned David about why he had waited 3 full days before handing over what could potentially be important evidence. Kit ultimately decided to keep hold of David's mobile phone for additional investigation, something that Shona actually found somewhat comforting, because it indicated that the police were treating the matter seriously and considering the possibility that something genuinely terrible could have happened to Jody.